Joining me now on set is our news director, Jules Vasquez, to analyze today's significant events. This is now the second cabinet minister in just 2 weeks to be placed on leave, Jules. Tell us what the trigger behind Minister Marin's being put on leave is today.
Okay, so it's very important. I've never seen this in history.
Okay.
2 successive weeks, 2 ministers placed on leave. That's Oscar Mira placed on leave, and I'm using the word advisedly, placed on leave from the Ministry of Home Affairs while they investigate the Ministry of Defense. And now the substantive Minister of Defense, Florencio Marin Jr., placed on leave. What was the trigger event? The Prime Minister said, you all saw his remarks, the Prime Minister said that the trigger event was that Marin himself chose to do it while his ministry is being audited. That I do not, I believe that is a story.
Okay.
That is a euphemism. I believe what really happened is that the Prime Minister had grave concerns. And he's concerned about further exposure.
Damage control or accountability?
I think it's a preemptive maneuver,
Okay.
because there may also be an avalanche of screenshots relating to suppliers related to Florencio Marin Jr. when he was Minister of Defense the first time.
Right.
And that will come up in the audit, and that is already coming to us. This evening we have a tranche of screenshots from a supplier named Kukul Khan. We have a tranche of screenshots from a supplier named Kukul Khan. And that is a concern of the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister moved quickly to tell Florencio Marin Jr., this is my belief based on information, that you have to take a leave. Now, this is not a minor move made by the Prime Minister. There is no Minister of Defense. There was no one waiting in the wings.
Right.
He took the decision quickly because he's recoiling in both fear or a measure of anxiety over this, but he's also recoiling in disgust. There was a cabinet meeting yesterday. Indira, and it was rough. Multiple accounts. They told me that the Prime Minister vituperated, he scolded, he admonished, he railed up with the cabinet members. And the reason he did this is because he is facing what Dean Barrow had best verbalized as the Alibaba syndrome, the 40 thieves.
Right.
The Prime Minister is tired of having to defend and having to explain all the various schemes. We've been talking about this for years. The political enterprise surrounding these ministers. What do I mean by that? I mean that everybody have to eat. So now, he took a bold decision. The question is this a crisis of governance?
Is it?
I spoke to the Prime Minister, and he told me it's not a crisis of governance. I have 26. What is 2?
What is 3?
What is 3? Right? It's not like he has 18. That's
Absolutely.
what he told me.
Right, right.
However, I agree, it is not a crisis of governance.
Right.
But it is a crisis of credibility. The government, the Briceño administration, is facing a credibility crisis because it is becoming more and more clear to the public that the government that they elected is not operating in an optimal space, that there's a likelihood that hustling will happen all over.
Well, you did a story about Florencio Marin, that he was once there, moved because of similar concerns. Was it now, if you look at it in hindsight, a miscalculation to have just really brought him back into that space?
So, the Prime Minister should have known better. When the PUP were elected in March, he did not reassign the portfolio to Florencio Marin Jr., and he did not do that for a reason.
Right.
I believe that reason is he had concerns about sub $10,000
already
invoices under Marin's watch, because you have to remember, Mira was only Minister of State. A Minister of State only gets crumbs. So it was happening on a larger scale, right? I cannot say at this point that the government did not get value for money, but we have done an analysis, and I think we have the graphic for Kukulkan. We have done an analysis of Kukulkan, and Kukulkan was selling products at a higher price, right? So we have 3 companies that were the main suppliers. But you see those companies at the far end, they had the lowest prices, but they were supplying the least. Kukulkan and the other importation companies, they had some of the higher prices, and we're going to investigate them, but they got the largest contracts. And that makes you question, was it at the minister's directive for preferred companies, and were taxpayers and the BDF suffering?
Right.
Because you want to turn on somebody? That is the critical question, and that's what's forcing the crisis of credibility. So, to get back to the point, the Prime Minister, in March of 2025, when the PUP won, he made the decision not to reassign Florencio Marin Jr. to the Ministry of Defense because he had concerns about a succession of sub-$10,000 receipts. In November, when everything started to go haywire with Minister Mai, he had to make portfolio adjustments.
Right.
And Florencio Marin he was at the Ministry of Labor, Local Government, Rural Development, or Local Government and Rural Development. The Prime Minister was forced to bring him back to defense against his own best judgment because he didn't have any options after Henry Charles Usher refused to take the Ministry of Home Affairs. That threw the whole thing into flux.
Right.
Right? So he had to bring Mira, who was at Ministry of Defense, over to Home Affairs, and then he had a vacancy at Home Affairs.
You want somebody who knows what's happening in there to do the job.
I don't know what he wanted because I don't know what he expected, but what I am saying, this is the chronicle of a shuffle foretold, because he should have known. So now, that all this spotlight is coming, he knows that it will be excavated, right? He knows that if you're going to excavate Mira's sub-$10,000 receipts to his family members, you're going to start finding skeletons related to Marin's tenure.
So that's a question I wanted to ask. Based on what happened in 2020 to 2025, was there an audit? Was there...
There was nothing.
Okay, there was nothing.
Nothing was known.
Okay.
And so I'm just saying, when they went in for Mira, the PM had to have a sense.
Absolutely.
Had to have some forethought
that he was moved.
That if they go looking for Mira, they're going to find Marin skeletons. And our reporting this week has been instrumental in this, because our sources have been leading us. Check pan Kukulkan. Kukulkan got a link with the minister. Check pan them boots that may overpriced. The minister know what's going on with them boots. So remember, what we have here is a situation where those boots are being bought for $100 to $200 more. I still don't know how much they paid. $100 to $200 more per unit, and we're buying 1,500 units. So that's $600,000. That's what they bought in 2021. The contractor general said, I saw no contract. So now we're seeing that the sub-10,000 payments are a direct way to avoid not only the Ministry of Finance, to avoid the contractor general, to give out 6-figure contracts when anything over 50,000 has to go to contractor general, to use that sub-10,000 threshold to give out those large contracts. So tonight, what are the Prime Minister's options?
What are his options?
He's run out. Who will he bring in to fill the Ministry of Defense? It would be most advised to bring in someone through the Senate, someone new. Because he can't put Julius there. He just gave Julius Home Affairs.
Right.
He's run out of competent ministers. He only has about 5 or 6, and he's run out. He can't take it himself. He can't put Julius Espat there. He can't put Cordell Hyde there. He can't put Karim Musa there. He can't put Henry Charles Usher there. And the others, you know, I heard how they wanted to give it to Ramon Monchi Cervantes, right? No, remember, defense isn't as important as home affairs, right? Like, so you can give somebody with mid-level skills that ministry, because defense is run by a professional ministry. You are a professional army. right? You always have the BDF,
Right.
which is led by professionals. So you can have a mid-tier minister. So they wanted to bring up, I received reports today that they wanted to bring up Ramon Montes Cervantes, the junior minister, but again, there are concerns because he's very close to Florencio Marin Jr. So, you know, the problem is the taint is pervasive, and the Prime Minister is trying to figure out who he can bring up. And so that is what we're looking at tonight. Who will be the Minister of Defense? I don't think it will be a top-tier minister. I think it will be someone, mid-tier minister. But that we're moving to the third Minister of Defense in a little over a year is not a good sign. It's not a good sign, and I don't know if Florencio Marin Jr. will make it back to cabinet. I think the Prime Minister was incensed. The Prime Minister acted quickly and almost like he acted rashly because he was so upset. And he said it hurts. Now, I believe he knew about those boots long ago because we have shown a letter that was sent to him by respected people in 2022. Respected people sent him a letter saying exactly what's happening. He said, I see thousands of letters, I can't remember it. Well, he didn't do anything about it then. And the Prime Minister is on this point, he's caught. He said it hurts. Well, it should have hurt you in 2022 when you got a letter from two respectable persons who spoke to you about it. They said, we're going to send a letter about this. And they sent that letter. So the Prime Minister is caught and he's in a bad situation, but I hate to say it, it is of his own making.
What is the direction of the audit? Do we know? Do we have an idea of what the direction of the audit? What are they looking for? Is there any other irregularities that they're checking for? Or is it just specifically what falls
You know,
under the threshold?
it's as deep as it's wide, because in order to do a proper audit at Ministry of Defense, you have to go back to Coast Guard, you have to go back to BDF, you have to go back to the stores managers, you have to cross-reference. Were there invoices for everything? You have to cross-reference, was this received? It is not a small process because it involves the stores or the supplies at BDF and Coast Guard. So,
well, that's why I'm asking, do we have an idea of what the framework of it will be?
I don't know that
is being looked for.
As they say, that is beyond my remit. I'm just digging in the dirt right now to try to get screenshots. I don't at screenshot level, but I want to stress we have gotten a number of screenshots for Kukulkan. Again, the Prime Minister's office is seen paying them $100,000 for a payment, but most of the Ministry of Defense payments are on. I don't know if we have those screenshots that we can share. The Kukulkan. No. Well, what we have there is the top 4 suppliers, and those companies bear scrutiny. You can see that those companies are the top suppliers, J&J, and the other one in the middle, and Kukulkan. Those are the top suppliers.
Mount Pleasant.
Right? Well, among Pleasant is Marin. That's the thing I'm saying. The Minister of State's people, they were at the lower level. Right? So these are the Kukulkan screenshots. We just got them 1 hour before news. We will be looking at them. One thing I can say, we see the same pattern with Ministry of Defense. We see sub $10,000 payments. We see a long succession of them. So we will be analyzing these, but we see a big payment to the Prime Minister's office for $100,000. You know, as you said earlier, the Prime Minister, they said they've been, or as we will see later, the Prime Minister said they pay for grocery bags, for constituency support. We want to know what constituency that was. We know that Kukulkan is a Corozal-based business, and it reportedly has links to the now former Minister of Defense, Florencio Marin. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm under the understanding that the finance officer is currently on leave. Do we know why?
Mr. Salas, the former finance officer, Mr. Alas, sorry, Salvador Alas, that we mentioned in that story, is on leave. He's a former FO, finance officer at the Ministry of Defense.
Okay.
And the reason he is on leave is because he's being looked at, or administrative inquiry into actions at another ministry, into his time at another ministry, I believe Ministry of Sustainable Development. So currently he's not officially under scrutiny for his time, as I understand it, at the Ministry of Defense. I'm sure in time he will be. I have seen text messages.
Do we have any idea of what that is about?
I don't know. At this point, there are more unknowns than knowns, right?
Okay.
We are just remember, we're on the outside. On leaks, yeah, but we are doing consequential work, and I don't say it self-importantly, but I'm saying that that I think that the reporting on Channel 7 and those particular outfits, the boots, the Altama boots, the Kukulkan, those were triggers that prompted the departure, the enforced departure from cabinet for at least 3 months of Lawrence Marin Jr. Let's see if he comes back.
Where does the story go from here, Jules?
You know, Indira, we're...
what should Belizeans be watching for in the days ahead?
It's totally unpredictable. You know, as I said, it's as deep as it is wide. And we have to continue looking. We have to continue seeing what will be leaked to us.
Right.
We hope to continue to get leaks. I know tonight you'll be reporting on the MW car dealership. And, you know, it's just that, you know, Indira, this is what happened. PUP were out of office for 13 years. And they came back with a hunger, right? They came back hungry to turn on, let me use the kind word, to turn on their friends and families. In Creole, they say, time for eat, right? Time for everybody eat, and that's what they came back with. And in the most advanced language, you would say, they came in to enrich. Now was value for taxpayer dollars received. We are seeing a trend where higher prices were being paid to these favored providers, and that's where the issue is. The sub 10,000 is certainly a red flag, and that red flag, the Prime Minister, the FinSec have admitted something is wrong. However, that practice may have been widespread. But if we can show the chart, we can see that favored suppliers like Kukulkan, we can see that the people who sold them the boots were selling at above average prices. So taxpayers lost value. The BDF suffered because of this.
In hindsight, if the Prime Minister had moved more decisively in regards to Mira, would all of this have even
well, this is the interesting thing.
Because it seems like a breadcrumb that led to here.
Yeah, I think the Prime Minister really likes Mira. Mira was obviously empowered by somebody at his back. For a Minister of State to have such relative largesse, somebody had to have his back. I believe, just instinctually, that it is the Cabinet Secretary. I believe that somebody had to have his back. But he moved light against Mira, and so today he couldn't move more strongly against Marin. I believe that he wanted to move more strongly against Marin because he was very upset with what manifested with the sub $10,000 payments after March, what the PM became aware of, or those in the PM's camp. And I think that if he hadn't taken a half measure against Mira last week, he would have gone all the way today with Marin and ousted him permanently from cabinet. The Prime Minister's words to me, this is not a crisis, I have 26.
And he does.
I could lose 2. I have 26, I could lose 3.
Jules, thank you for your insight, your perspective in what I'll call this developing story.